Thank you. I'm super excited to be at City.js. And we just had a break, right? Before I start, let's do an activity. Give a round of applause to City.js and Azure Cosmos DB so that I can take a video. Give a round of applause. All right. I'm going to upload this video saying that I got this applause for my talk. Yeah. So how many of you attended the workshop day before yesterday on Copilot with Azure Cosmos DB? I see a few hands. So this talk is going to be an extended version of the particular workshop where we will be talking about JavaScript and Azure Cosmos DB. Before that, I am Saji, working as a product manager in the Azure Cosmos DB team. I'm also a GD in Angular. And also, I contribute a lot on the community. You can see me active on Stack Overflow. And I do a lot of reviews on the books as well. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is that be passionate about learning. This message is from our CEO, Sajeetharan. And once you stop learning, you stop doing the useful things, right? So that is very important. And this community sharing is all about learning something new. Probably you will take something out of this session as well. So if you look at any mission critical applications which are running across the world, this is how it's going to look like. You have users from multiple parts of the world who will be using your application. And you need to make sure that your application runs 24/7 without any issue, right? So those applications are to be more scalable and resilient in order to cater the end users. We have been hearing a lot of talks about the front-end application today, like JavaScript, a lot of frameworks as well as how to do the unit testing. But today I'm going to cover more about the data store. Without data, you can't serve your application to any user, right? So data plays an important factor. If you take any typical database, and today I'm going to talk about Azure Cosmos DB, which is Microsoft's premier globally distributed scalable database, which provides the unlimited scaling and latency in quick seconds. So if I have to talk about the features, since you are developers, some of these features are very relevant to you. It's fully managed, so you don't have to worry about taking automatic backups, doing failover, and things like that, which is automatically managed for you. And we provide 5 nines of SLA, which means you are able to, manage your users 24/7 without doing any replication. And we also support elastic scaling. We provide horizontal scaling in the form of partitioning, so you can upgrade and downgrade based on your needs. Probably the slide is also acting like the application slide that I showed, right? How typical multi-users application behaves. I hope this time it settles down. All right. The mouse is open. Give slide. The mouse.
It doesn't work.
Okay. I think we are good. It's okay. All right. Yeah, and in terms of guaranteed performance, right, we provide SLAs for you, the number of reads and writes you do as well. So we provide 1 milliseconds when you read the data from the region we are accessing it from through the SDKs. And when it comes to developer friendly, since this being a JavaScript conference, as a JavaScript developer, we typically deal with JSON data, right? Cosmos DB stores the data in the JSON format. And also, we provide SDKs to access your data whenever you need. All right, sorry about that. Yeah. Anyone has connected this? Let me try that. Yeah, you have to see the slides again and again so that you can get the answers right in the next Kahoot. Yeah, when it comes to developer friendliness, we provide SDKs as well as you have the support of GraphQL and REST if you're building web applications. And also we have the capability to run the cloud experience locally by using the local emulator. This is supported across Windows as well as Linux OS. And finally, we also have the analytical capability which you can use your Cosmos DB as a OLTP database and also extend the capability of analytical skills by using Synapse Link integrating with Cosmos DB. And also we have the native vector store, which is one of the questions that I had in the Kahoot. So you can store your data in the form of vector embeddings and then you can query it based on the previous demos that you had, right? We also have tight integration with OpenAI. So these are some of the developer-friendly features that you would see in Cosmos DB. If you still have this question about how to build mission-critical application that is vertically scalable or horizontally scalable, and also that provides latency guarantees, the answer is Cosmos DB. So that, and also as a typical developer, you would write microservices with the event-driven scenarios, right? So Cosmos DB has the capability to help with that. And if you're wondering about which applications runs on Cosmos DB, I'm sure that all of you are familiar with these names. So these are some of our customers who are using Azure Cosmos DB on a daily basis to serve their end users. With that, let me come to the main topic for this session, which is the JavaScript ecosystem on Azure Cosmos DB. If you look at some of these integrations that we have done recently and also in the past, the first one is Azure. So if you are a GraphQL developer, Azure has been the leading provider when it comes to GraphQL experience, and they use TypeScript SDK in order to build the connector. So we have tightly integrated with Azure, and you can use Cosmos DB NoSQL API as a backend in order to generate the GraphQL endpoint. And also we have, how many of you heard of Vercel? I see many hands. When I asked the Cosmos DB question, nobody raised their hands, but now I see many hands, right? Because you are a JavaScript developer. So as a JavaScript developer, you are already familiar with Vercel. So we are tightly integrating with platforms where developers are at, right? So Vercel is one of the platforms that we have worked with closely. And also you can see OpenAI LangChain. LangChain is one of the recent integrations that is available in beta. So these are some of the integrations and ecosystem that we have with JavaScript SDK. And if you still have a question about which customers or which large customers uses Azure Cosmos DB and JavaScript, you can see VS Code and Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams uses React and uses Cosmos DB to store the chat messages or the user profiles that we have on Microsoft Teams, right? So this is a typical example on how Cosmos DB can scale and also in the developer experience when you use JavaScript. So we do have a native SDK for JavaScript, which is completely open sourced. So as a developer, you feel free to contribute and also provide RFCs, feedbacks, and the project is completely visible to end users. So you can, contribute in terms of PR and so on. And also risk security, when it comes to enterprise application, we provide the Entra ID integration and also RBAC with the form of JavaScript SDK. So whenever you do some queries, the user is authenticated and provided right roles are given. And also enhanced productivity. When I say enhanced productivity, we support multiple operations with the JavaScript SDK. I will show a demo of that. If you want to perform some quick queries or read operations or even fetch all data, we provide continuation token in the form of accessing large data set and so on. And seamless integration is something that I previously mentioned about. So we have tightly integrated with some of the native Azure services like identity service and storage service. So you can see the entire history of the integration in the Azure SDK, Azure/SDK JavaScript. So this is a URL in the NPM package, and you can see the active downloads and how the community is growing in the past year. In terms of JavaScript SDK for Azure Cosmos DB, we have 3 versions so far, starting from V2, V3, and V4. Recently, we announced V4 in public preview, and it provides some of the rich capabilities as a web developer you would need, starting with client-side request diagnostics. How many of you are frustrated when you do a web request and you don't see any response from the backend whenever you are using database? Raise hands. I see many hands, right? So that is a typical experience that developer would have. So we have integrated request diagnostics where you can track the request from your client machine to the server. In this term, it's Cosmos DB, how the request has been hit from the client to the Cosmos DB physical partition, and see how much time it has taken to send back the response. And if there is an error on the backend, you would actually see which physical server is causing that issue. And there are many more properties which you can access to see, to get the better developer debugging experience. And the second one is hierarchical partition key. When you talk about a scalable application or applications which are widely used by customers, you have to think about multi-tenancy, right? So we have the concept of partitioning. With this hierarchical partitioning, you avoid the limit of having large amount of data in a single partition, so you can scale it accordingly based on the partition key that you provide. So we support up to 3 levels of partition key. For example, if you are building a multi-tenant application, you have the user ID, tenant ID, and also the session ID. So you can have this user ID, tenant ID, and the user ID and the session ID. So you can partition your data according to these partition keys. And native vector search support, which I don't have to talk about. You have been hearing a lot of talks on the native vector search support, which is already available in Cosmos DB, and you can do it through the vector queries using the JavaScript SDK. And finally, LangChain integration, which is in beta mode. So we have tightly worked with LangChain team in order to make this integration happen. Finally, I also talked about the JavaScript ecosystem. So we have bridged Vercel and Cosmos DB together through this integration. So if you are a developer who want to develop things free on Cosmos DB, you can explore this integration by navigating to Vercel platform and then check the marketplace in order to integrate. So this is how the end-to-end experience would look like. You have your source code in GitHub, and then you create a new Vercel project, you import the source code, and then you go to the marketplace and check the integration. You can create a new Cosmos DB for free, or you can use the existing one that you're already using, and then you can view your application deployed on Vercel. With that, let me show a quick demo of using rack pattern with JavaScript SDK on Cosmos DB. So this is the application that I have. So you can probably log into, go to this URL to access the demo. But let me duplicate the screen. So this is the entire code look like. So the front end is going to be a React app, which most of you are familiar with. And I also have the JavaScript SDK imported, and you can see some of the operations like bulk. We are going to insert bulk data, and then the Cosmos DB client, and we are going to use the diagnostic feature. And there's a model that I have created to store the chats. So this application is a Contoso chat support application. As a support engineer, say if you want to create tickets in order to find some of the issues with your product and so on. So this application is that, and we are using Cosmos DB as a storage to store the chats, and you can ask questions to get information based on the information that you have already stored. So we are using the JavaScript SDK to loop through the chats and then store it in Cosmos DB. And then we are also seeing the diagnostics, so how the request has gone from the client application to the backend, and then we finally end the session. So here also we have the read and then delete. If I navigate to the application, so this uses GitHub as a login mechanism, as most of the developers would have a GitHub account. You can try this out as well. So this runs on localhost 3000. I hope it works. All right, it's compiling. All right. So we are using Next.js here as a way to communicate to the backend. So you can see I have already logged in using my GitHub account, but you can always sign out and come back. So this is a chat application where you can ask questions, and it uses a rack pattern to fetch the information from the backend. For example, if I have to ask what is the refund policy, it sends the queries and then you get the response. And also it comes back with certain suggestions, like what are the follow-up questions that you can ask from the previous context, right? So this is something that you can build easily with Cosmos DB and use as a vector store. That is one demo that I wanted to show. And then at the bottom, you can see some logs, right? So this is basically the diagnostic logs. For each request, how much time it had taken to reach to the backend and get the response back. So in this case, it has taken 593 milliseconds. But yeah, certainly we can identify and optimize and do more things. So, and also you can see the JavaScript version. And this actually fetches the data from the backend by doing a fetch all query. So similar to that, you can build end-to-end application. And next thing, I am going to show the Vercel integration where you can deploy your application for free. You can go to the marketplace and search for Cosmos DB. This is in the list where you can see Azure Cosmos DB. And once you open that, you can go and click on Add Integration. And you can select your project. So in this case, I'm going to choose the projects which I demonstrate and then do an install. So it's going to fetch the keys from the Cosmos DB and set it to Vercel platform. Right now, I don't have much time to show that, but the idea here is like once you have your application integrated, you will see something like this, where you can deploy your application and see it in live. So in this case, I will go ahead and redeploy. The deployment went successful, so you can see the build logs and how much time it has taken. Similar to how you would do it in GitHub, the same experience is provided here. So right now it's building, but again, the same application you can see it in Vercel platform once you get deployed. Okay. Yeah, so the application is deployed, and then you would be able to see the same experience by using Cosmos DB on the Vercel platform by using the same Cosmos DB account which I have demonstrated earlier. So this is a whole end-to-end experience. So you can use the JavaScript SDK to build your application, use Cosmos DB as a backend, and if you want to do it for free, you can try Cosmos DB or the Vercel platform in order to integrate your application. How many of you got this session, the idea about this session? All right, I see. Thank you. With that, I have come to the end of this presentation. And if you want to understand more about Cosmos JS SDK, you can navigate to this link and explore more about Vercel integration, and the demo repo is already available. And if you want to get in touch with Azure Cosmos DB product team, you can scan this QR code. We are always, we are at the booth as well, so you can come up with your questions, but if you want to get in touch afterwards, you can do that. With that, I'm sure that she's willing to do that, so I would end the presentation here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. You can always search KOKKISAGEE. Find him on Twitter. Bother him if you find some issue about Cosmos DB.